Hey, Lisa Fisher here with Lisa Fisher Associates. I was reflecting on this staffing issue that we're in. And I remember managing McDonald's restaurants in the late 80s, early 90s. I know I'm giving my age away. But as I was managing these restaurants, we were also in a staffing crisis at that time. And I didn't own that business, but I ran it like I owned that business. I worked long hours. I worked side by side with my employees. I often sat at the end of the day or came in on my days off to take care of that work that still needed to be done that we hadn't gotten done because I was in the grind with them. And the expectations of the corporation were still the same, right? So we had less people that we were working with, and yet we were still required to produce the same results. Fast customer service times, sales, right? Making sure we had everything, clean restaurants, all of those components that came into operating their business with less people. And I realized at the time that I heavily relied on, number one, my loyal people, my people that were there, and treating them well and rolling up my sleeves and getting in there with them, but also recognizing them, rewarding them, cheering them on, encouraging them because they were tired, they were worn out. I was tired and worn out, right? I mean, it was just one of those things that we were actually going through. Now, I have my own theories about why we're in a labor shortage again. And while I haven't done a lot of research, I just think of, family sizes aren't the sizes they used to be. And our baby boomers are retiring, and there's more, right? When I was growing up, we drove into town to go to McDonald's, which was a 20-minute drive, and that was the only fast food restaurant. Now you've got 4 or 5 of them right in a row, right next to each other. So we have less manpower, and yet we're still trying to staff these restaurants, staff these retail stores, hire our professional engineers, our professional doctors, all of these things. There's more options, and there's a smaller pool to choose from. And when I think about all that time that I was really wearing myself out, I became more dependent on my people, more reliant on them. And I knew that I needed to treat them differently. I'm a big proponent of tooling our leaders, equipping them with what they need to be able to lead other people, to create a culture, to create a workspace that people want to come to. And it's not easy. Oh my gosh. I learned a lot of things over the years, and a lot of things on the way. And I look back and there are things I would have done differently. But at the end of the day, leadership is an action. It's not a title. It's not a role. Leadership is action. And how are you taking action with your people? How are you leading them? What tools are you providing? What recognition? What acknowledgments? We think about expectations and standards, job descriptions. I hear all the time, we've hired a new person and they say, that's not my job. That's not my job. But yet, are you setting the expectation? Here's the beginning stage. This is where we're hiring you at. Here's where we want to get. But we're all in this, working towards the same goal. So do they know the goals? Oh, there's so many things that we can do to equip and tool our people. But ask yourselves, do I have my job descriptions? Have I set the expectations and the standards? Or in this crux of what we're going through, are we negotiating our standards a little bit because we're overwhelmed, we're too busy? Are we accepting behaviors that we normally wouldn't? But these are all things we need to ask ourselves. And how do we get the buy-in from our loyal people that are sticking around with us? I would love to hear what you're doing to help maintain your staff, your people, or to grow your organization. And I know that there's a lot of tips and best practices out there. And some of you might say, I don't want to give away my secrets. I don't want people to know what I'm doing. I don't want them to steal my people. It's happening. But there's an abundant mindset. And if we think abundantly and we think about helping out others, we're going to be rewarded. So how are you equipping and tooling your leaders, your staff, your people? What standards, what expectations are you setting forth? And not just for your leaders, but your whole team, because it's the actions that we take that are going to make the difference in our productivity. It's going to make a difference in the amount of time, the burnout. If we, as the leaders and the business owners, are experiencing that burnout, that stress, that frustration, that overwhelm, chances are, so are our key players. So what are you doing different? I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.